Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kegel Show. My name is Don Agent, and I will be your host. And with us today is Or Aviram, very good friend of mine. Or, thanks for joining us out here today.
Great to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
I'd kind of like to start out and give them a little bit of our background, how we kind of met and hooked up, and that was back in the year 2000. Netanya, Israel, for the European Team Cup Championships.
Yes, one of the last tournaments that was held in that format, the Baker system.
The Baker system,
right.
because it was Finland and Sweden on the last match, if I remember correct. You were an up-and-coming, I'll say, star at that point. You were very young. You just gotten out of the military. And I kind of wanted to ask you to tell the audience, you've been bowling all your life. What got you started to say, hey, I wanted to bowl? Were you a small child? What was the story behind that?
Well, it's like, I guess a lot of these stories start with the mom and dad. Basically, my dad was a bowler when he was young, back in Israel, and then for a long period of time when that bowling center he used to bowl on got closed, there was no bowling in Israel.
Really?
For a very long time, and then up until 1988, there was no bowling in Israel. And then a bowling center opened next to where we lived, and my dad wanted to go back and bowl. He took my mom with him, started to bowl a little bit, and he created a league, a youth league, or actually a training camp for kids.
Very cool.
And I joined, and I liked it. And I'm kind of competitive in nature, and I really wanted to get better. And when I saw that I can actually beat the other kids, I want to bowl on the national level. And then when I see that I can beat the guys or the kids in the national level, I want to go to the international level. So this is how it all started.
So let's get into that. You've had the pleasure of representing your country. I mean, Israel on the highest levels. I mean, you've literally bowled across the globe. Can you pick out any specific international events that made you the most proud, or whether it was culturally experiencing or winning on a competitive level?
Well, first I had to say that representing your country is the biggest honor that you can have. I've been fortunate enough to bowl for my country for many years. First time I bowled and represented my country was 1995 for the Youth National International Championships.
Okay.
I've won the gold medal, the first gold medal for Israel in the European Gold Cup, 1996. So it's a feeling that you cannot really explain until you've been there. Standing on a podium, first place, and your national anthem plays in the background. This is something that you can't put a price to.
And I specifically remember the tournament at Tanya was a pretty impressive banquet as well.
Oh, yes.
Watching everybody get the medals, and we had a giant pyramid essentially. We went up to the top. You've also bowled against some professional players from the United States. Now you've had some pretty good success in your past. I mean, have you beaten some of those in different venues and events?
Yeah, well, since I'm not from the U.S., I don't bowl a lot of the PBA events.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I see those bowlers when we bowl in the international world championships and things like that. When I bowled the Cubic IMF World Cup, I beat Rhino Page, John Zerbinski, American representatives. And world championships.
Two pretty heavy hitters there. Two pretty good names.
Hey, me and my doubles partner, we beat Tommy Jones and Bill O'Neill in Vegas 2013. So yeah, I do get to bowl against those elite legends in bowling, but it's not that often. Normally, I bowl more against the European, like Dominic Barrett, Martin Larsson. Those are the bowlers I tend to bowl more against.
That's fantastic. Are you still competing? I mean, I know, as we get into some other things, you've got a pretty interesting professional career, but do you have time to get out there and still throw the ball?
I don't bowl as much as I want to.
Okay.
Life gets in the way.
Absolutely.
You do a lot of other things. I'm still fortunate to be in the bowling business, whether it's on the lanes or behind the lanes, and doing some things that we're going to discuss. For bowling, it's fun because, bowling is a passion. You can't really let it go. You can't really live it, and I'm just fortunate to still be doing this.
That's going to kind of bring us into, you've got a pretty impressive bowling background, which also led you to, actually, I guess I can say this, you're part of the Kegel team now, working for us periodically throughout the year. This is one of the visits you're down for. You've got a pretty good professional background, though, too. What do you actually do for a living outside of bowling?
Well, since, at least in Israel, bowling does not pay the rent. You have to work for a living.
Understood.
And ever since I was a very small child, I was really into computers. I really loved the idea of playing with technology, and this is what I've created my professional life based on. I built software. I've been doing that for the last 16 years. When I was in the army, I was a specialist of networks, so I know the behind the scenes, all the system behind it, the hardware that runs the software. So I've pretty much created a professional life based on solutions, software solutions, architecture of solutions, writing programs, developing. This is what I do for a living.
And now you combine that with your bowling background.
How good is that?
And you also hook up with a couple other pretty smart guys. I want you to kind of talk about that a little bit. But you all of a sudden now are really spearheading some pretty unique coaching tools that Kegel is now selling, and you and a couple other guys designed, called Specto. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that concept even came about for you guys?
Well, that's the thing. Bowling is a passion, and my profession of writing software has always been the two things in my life that I was always trying to see how I can merge. And this is the first time that I've been able to do something like that. It's a project that involves both of my passions. I'm excited about it.
It's got to be pretty cool for you.
It is extremely cool. You know, you sit and you code up until like 3 a.m. and you don't even feel it because you enjoy it so much. And the way it started is one day about 1.5 years ago, almost 2 years ago, I got a call from Yuha Maya, one of the world-renowned coaches. He's a member of the education committee of the European Bowling Federation. He knows me as a bowler. He knew some of my coding background, and he called me up and said, "Listen, we have an idea forming, and we would like you to help us bring it into life." So I asked him, "Okay, what is it? How does it work?" He explained the general idea behind the technology that they want to create. He introduced me to a very good friend of his, another bowling enthusiast called Christian.
Yep.
2 weeks later, I arrived into Finland to play a Bowlmaster, the first tournament of the year. It's a big tournament that I go there to bowl, but since it's in Finland, and Juha and Christian are from Finland, we meet up.
It's perfect.
Went to a bowling center, hooked up the hardware, plugged in software, and about 24 hours later, we had a working prototype of Specto.
It's fantastic.
That's how Specto got to life.
And you know, and I think most of our viewers, if not all of them, I mean, you know, at least from Kegel's standpoint, you know, we've got a lot of passion for all things bowling. Obviously, whether it's equipment, whether it's chemicals, anything that's going to make bowling better. The coaching tools really excite a lot of us that have been here a long time, even more so than some of the equipment we've designed, because going forward, that's essentially what's going to keep bowling alive. If we can educate people, get them hooked into the game, the sport, whatever you want to call it. You know, can you kind of tell the audience some of the benefits of Specto and kind of what to look for if they go into a center that has one of these units?
Right. Well, originally when we were designing Specto, we were thinking about ourselves as bowlers, what we would want to see as coaches, what we need to help and coach our students. Basically, to tell you the truth, I was only thinking about Specto to help myself as a bowler, right? So I built it to help myself.
That's fair.
Hey, but that brought into life some of the cool features, like tracking the ball through the pins. This is something that not a lot of bowlers do, and this kind of changes the paradigm of thinking. It creates a new way to look at the game, and it's right there in Specto, and it teaches you to look at that and to search for that. So when you go to a bowling center, you run the app, you can track the ball, but you can also see how it hit the pins.
And this actually, to stop you there, I mean, this is an app that goes on your smartphone, your smart devices, that they can directly interact with and get live data, graphical data as well.
Exactly. You can replay shots. So when you look at a ball and you're on the foul line point of view, you see the ball going in a certain shape, but you don't really get the dimensions because you're too low and you have 60
front
feet.
To back.
Front to back. And with Specto, you can actually go and replay the shot 360 in a 3D model that you can actually see how the ball really behaves on the lane. That gives you kind of a different way of thinking about ball shape and how the pattern is laid down on the lane and where does the ball meet the pattern in a very physical, graphical way.
And obviously, this is a LiDAR-based sensor system. This is pinging how many points as the ball goes down? I mean, how many points of data is this accumulating when you throw a ball?
To get technical, the LiDAR is a device. It spins at a rate of 50 times per second, so 50 hertz.
Okay.
Each one of those spins, it scans the entire area at a resolution of 0.1 degrees. So for every scan, we get 3,600 pulses from everything in the area. So how long does it take a bowling ball to reach from the foul line to the pins? I would say 2.5 seconds.
Yeah.
So basically we track the ball about 100 to 130 times through the shot. So if you compare previous technologies, we go from 5 to 130 samples of a ball position through the lane.
Sure.
The amount of data that we collect and the things that we can achieve with that, the sky's the limit.
This is a ton more accurate than the CATS system that I used to install back in the day for those of y'all that may be familiar with that. You know, it's one of these things that's exciting because there's also, from a coaching perspective, there's practice drills on this, correct, as well? What are some of those different drills that are on there?
Well, this is another great feature because, you know, when you go to a bowling center and you practice, you don't really have, unless you're a very disciplined bowler, you don't really have a routine to go by.
Sure.
You go, you make a few practice shots, and then you turn the scores on, and you bowl a game. That's not really practice. So what we try to achieve with Specto is provide certain drills that will make it fun and interesting for you to practice. And the way we do it is we create challenges. Like you have to hit the first arrow, you have 10 attempts. Let's see how many of those 10 attempts you can hit.
And how close or far away you may be on those attempts,
right.
Correct?
So it tells you the range, but it also gives you a pass or fail per shot.
Perfect.
So let's say you make one challenge and you get to 80%. That will drive you to try again to maybe get to 90%. And this is just one drill. We can create different drills for angles and speeds and breakpoints. A lot of those variations or variables that we can control with Specto, we can gamify it for you. And I was on lanes once. I was helping some bowling friends from Israel, and I ran Specto for them. I ran a couple of challenges, and they've completed a challenge, and they wanted to do it again. So I said, okay, let's try again.
Okay.
And then they wanted to do it again. And about 7 times later,
they wanted to beat the game.
To beat themselves.
That's right.
7 challenges later, it's like 2 hours into the practice, and they still want to go. You know, it just makes them practice more.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, the more people we can get to practice and I think get better at our sport, just like any other sport, and have fun, and yeah, have something to shoot for. You know, we are always, as a lanesman, you know, to the bowler, it's kind of like an invisible area out there. You know, I mean, all the lanes may possibly look all the same and flat to them, and they're all shiny, but you know, deep down behind the scenes, I mean, these drills could help you tune up your game to be able to overcome some challenges you may have on a lane condition or a topographical situation.
And you've touched a very critical point about bowling. It's lane conditions, and it's liquid that's on the lane, and balls pick up the oil and push it and carry down and break down. All these things we know happen, and what we've realized with Specto is that it runs. You know, it runs. It reads all the shots, and it can track the traffic on the lane. So you know exactly what's going on the lane, even 5 games, 10 games later.
You watch the angles changing through that, and why you maybe made a ball change, or
you can see where the traffic was, and then you can see the depletion of oil because, you know, hey, everybody bowled this area. I can use that for my advantage. Let's move in. Let's keep that. Exactly.
Absolutely.
It just gives you information in a way that it was not possible before.
Well, this is fantastic stuff. I know there's a lot of things that all three of y'all are constantly working on in conjunction with our staff here to even make this even more incredible going forward, which I can't talk about right now because some of that stuff's in testing. But ladies and gentlemen, if you get an opportunity to go to a bowling center anywhere on the globe that has this system, and there are actually quite a few now and more are popping up on a day-to-day basis, take an opportunity, download the app, get out there, give this a try. We guarantee you won't be disappointed, and you're probably, it's going to rejuvenate you to some degree. Or I can't thank you enough for coming out again,
really
brother.
appreciate it.
Great to see you, my friend.
Much.
And ladies and gentlemen, that's a wrap. Keep those wrenches turning and have a wonderful day.